Hello and welcome back to the Eurovoxx Podcast, the place where we will be discussing all things Eurovision. Coming up today, 3 national finals have concluded this weekend as we have entries from Spain, Norway and Ireland. And our first internally selected song has been released in Slovenia. But first, let's go to our guests. We have our first non-Eurovoxx and our first duo in this show. They are the hosts of one of the fastest growing Eurovision podcasts, and they are from a country that has brought us entries such as... And...
We were the rock and roll kids. Rock and roll was all we did.
But also, sadly... I am terribly sorry you all had to hear that. It is Conor and Louise from the Eurovision Podcast. Hello.
Hello, Dee. Hello.
I love that intro.
Well, I'll be honest, I got inspiration from that because if anyone that has heard your show, that they will know that you intro using all the winners for Ireland. And I thought, you know what, let's give a broader range to the audience of what Ireland...
Just in the winner of our hearts, Harry.
Of course. And also, like, you've got nothing from the 2000s onwards. We needed your most memorable one from there, of course.
It might need an upgrade.
Hopefully. Who knows? Maybe this time next year I'll change it to Wild Youth. We'll see. Before we get into, like, the main show, because obviously this is the first time we get someone on not from Eurovoxx. I just wanted to quickly discuss how we all met, because we've all met in the past. So, Conor, how did we first meet online or and then in person?
Oh my god. It's a good few years now. We met through Discord, I believe.
Yes.
Through a friend of ours, Shane's contest. And yeah, we just got chatting from there. And then we ended up meeting up we were meant to meet up a couple of times before that at like Junior and stuff. Obviously the pandemic didn't help that. But we ended up meeting in LEP last year before that. And then we of course met in Turin then, the three of us then. So
yes, we did. And Louise, you're gonna have to forgive me because I want to say my meeting you in from my perspective, because obviously I've seen you before in videos in Eurovision Hub and through just Conor. But I remember my story of meeting you in Turin. Basically, it was at a McDonald's of all random places. And while I was eating my McDonald's, I was in a West Ham shirt. I think that we were about to play a game, go to a pub there. I saw Roy from ESC United in the corner. Love Roy, great channel. Recommend following it. And I was, after my meal, I was going to say hello to him and that I'd met him and all that stuff. And then, from my perspective, not knowing who it is, a crazy woman came running in from the side and gave him a massive hug. And I thought to myself, oh well, they're talking with them. I'll just leave be. So when I went to put the food away, I recognised it was you. And then thankfully, my West Ham shirt must have given away it was me, because Conor came barreling towards me, giving me a massive hug. And it was one of the biggest shocks I've ever had. And what was also lovely about meeting you, Louise, was after me and Conor briefly caught up about everything, I asked, oh, can I meet Louise and all that stuff? And from what I heard, that you only knew me as like Conor's friend and stuff like that. That didn't matter. As soon as I was introduced to you, she went, Harry! And gave me this massive big hug. And yeah, it was it was a lovely moment. I did miss West Ham's only 2 goals against Man City that day, but I didn't care.
It was worth it.
It was worth it. By the time I got to the pub, we was 2-2, but that didn't matter. It didn't matter.
That's lovely, Harry. Like, to me, that's Eurovision fans when you're at an event. You know, it's like we're all in this together. We're all excited about the same stuff. I love meeting people at stuff. It was such a pleasure to meet you, and hopefully meet you again soon.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And I also remember, I believe that night I was going to try and meet up with you after the contest, after the final on Saturday.
Yes.
But and I'm not blaming you for this. Basically, I needed to get out of my Airbnb at like 10 o'clock, and it took you quite a while to let me know where you were actually going after the show. So I just
went
to
for nearly 2 hours. I believe.
I think that's not our fault. I think it's Italy's fault.
Italy's fault.
And Eurovision Village's fault.
Yes.
Oh, were you in the village?
No, we tried to, but
it was carnage. So we ended up going ages out to our friend Mihal's hotel, and then we couldn't get a taxi.
No, so we had to walk.
We
about
walked
an hour and a
nearly.
half,
It
2
was
hours,
nearly
yeah.
2 hours. We walked to the Huntsman pub.
Yeah.
I think we got there after 2 a.m.
Oh yeah. We didn't leave till about 7.
And that's why I didn't go, because I hadn't packed yet, so I would have needed to go.
Understandably.
Well, we definitely need to actually arrange a time to meet up in Liverpool
Definitely.
this year. So let's move on to a recurring segment of the show, 3 questions. These are questions that we ask our guests every time. So first of all, obviously, give individual answers. Describe your first Eurovision watching.
Well, I'm older, Connor, so maybe I should go first.
I was gonna say.
I couldn't pinpoint to you exactly which contest it was. I mean, I'm probably very much giving away my age, but actually about 3 weeks after I was born, Eurovision was on in Dublin, and Nocturne won for Norway. So I was technically 3 or 4 weeks old in front of the television, and like, this is such a strange turn of events. But the violinist in Nocturne, her name's Fanula, amazing woman. She's actually now a very good friend of my mum's. So my mum now like tells her like, oh, you know, Louise was a few weeks old and I had her in front of the TV when you were playing the violin for Norway, and now Louise is a Eurovision super fan, so that's kind of great. But my first really from actual memory, and Connor has heard this from me thousands of times, Mickey Joe Hart, We've Got the World Tonight, 2003. I was in primary school and was at an age where we had this format called Eurosong on RTE, and it was really popular, our selection process. And Mickey Joe Hart was just the nation's sweetheart. Everybody loved that song, so much so that anyone my age still adores that song. He was at like my university balls. When I lived in Australia a couple of years ago, he was brought by a night out, kind of a nightlife company called Bingo Loco. He did a tour of Australia for Irish expats to go and see him. Like, he is still so successful in Ireland because of one song he released 20 years ago. Like 20 years ago at this stage. So yeah, Mickey Joe Hart.
That's the beauty of Eurovision. It's almost the biggest one-hit wonder show in the world for a lot of people. I'm pretty sure we're born at a similar time, because I've also was born like 3 weeks after a contest, but sadly it was after the UK got 0 points in 2003. That's my link to it. I don't know how
So
I
you
became
weren't
a Euro.
alive for Mickey Joe Hart?
Nope.
Harry, no.
Even I was.
Yeah, even you. So I don't know how I became a British Eurovision fan after that. Like that's
Struggle was real.
For many years. Conor, what was your first Eurovision you remember?
Even though like I was only 4, but I do vaguely remember watching Mickey Joe Hart on the telly. Like I can see like the big black clunky television in the studio, in the like studio apartment that we were in. And I can like vaguely remember it, but my first proper Eurovision was probably 2006.
Good year.
Yeah, I think that's probably my first earliest memory. I think we had just arrived back home from Portugal or something, and we stuck it on the telly.
Did Lloydie not scare you? As you
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Scare me. I think I was like, what is this? These are cool. The makeup and the horns. I remember thinking of the horns. The guitarist scared me because she had like the teeth, and it was like I was oh my god. But everything else, like, they were like my first memory. Lordy winning.
So to clarify, from a British perspective, your first memories of the UK in Eurovision were Gemini and Teacher with Creepy Old Enough Children. Great introduction to the contest from our perspective. What was Ireland's entry? Oh yeah, that was top 10
Kennedy.
actually. Yeah, Brian
Yeah.
Kennedy. Yeah.
Don't
Good
like the
year.
song though, but top 10, I'll take it.
take it where we
I'll
can get
take it. Yeah, we're
I
at
was-
a very early.
I was going to say that's your second to last top 10 in recent years, isn't
Yeah,
it?
don't remind me. Don't remind me.
I've got all the niche Irish facts stored in my head specifically for you. Then second question: what is your favourite Eurovision entry of all time?
I hate when people ask me that because it's like asking someone their favorite child, and you just can't.
And you've got
do
over
it.
1,000 children,
Yeah.
apparently.
I get around.
That's not what I meant. I meant there's over 1,000 Eurovision songs. This is a PG show.
Oh, wait, we can't confirm that, Louise.
It is now.
As we said, Louise, his first memory of the UK is Daz Sampson. So,
oh Jesus! I did double check if this was live. I did, in fairness.
I've checked this already. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, I have vague various favorites. I think I Just a Little Bit from the UK is one that I love. I love Finland 2014. I know you love it as well.
Something Better.
Something Better, yeah. There's just so many. I probably have about 5.
You loved Cornelia too. Not to tell you what you loved.
No. Hold Me Closer. Jesus, I still love that to this day. So
Same.
I don't think I could pinpoint one favorite song, but I do love those kind of wow moments. The songs that really go wow. They're the ones that would be more my faves. So.
Oh yeah, that's what Eurovision's all about. You've got to feel something to a song, connect to it to be your favorite. Louise, what's your favorite?
I have so many. I feel similarly to Conor. I find ESC 250 very tough when I want to squeeze about 30 songs into 10. But if I had to choose one,
I wonder what this
it would be Miki Nunes, La Venda, Spain, Eurovision Song Contest 2019, held in Tel
Great
Aviv,
choice.
Israel.
Great choice.
Yeah, I think for me, just it's a mixture of reasons, but I think the 2019 contest is when I really became a hardcore fan. I went to LEP, I met Mickey, have done dozens of conga lines to the song, so I just attach so many amazing memories to that song.
Yeah, me and Conor were part of our own conga line when they played it in LEP last year. I
remember recording it and sending to Louise. I was like, we're doing it for you.
I get FOMO. I don't like people doing it without me.
I remember Conor even saying at the top of his line, "Let me record this for Louise."
My brand with Lavender got so bad at one point, the Irlandesa over here. I met these Spanish guys at Melfest last year and they told me I was in their group chats and stuff because I was so insane in 2019 that I was a bit of a meme to some of the Spanish fans, this crazy Irish woman who was standing this 22nd place in Eurovision. I don't know.
You've got to have that with various Eurovision songs, those songs where it's you're so obsessed you don't care what anyone else says. It's no, it's amazing, doesn't matter. For this one, music isn't subjective. This is good. And then the final question, we always ask our previous guest to send in a question. This one was sent in from Tuan, our last guest. And with the allocation draw happening recently, what semi-final do you think the winner of Eurovision 2023 will come from? I will say you can say none if you think it'll be an automatic qualifier.
I would say semi-1.
I think semi-final 1. I think you're looking at maybe Finland,
if Loreen goes for Sweden and it's Euphoria S, that same level, then Sweden have it in the bag. But
yeah, I would say semi-final 1 is a lot stronger.
Or it could be a big 5. It's between those two.
I'm going to go with semi-final 1.
You know what? I'll go with big 5.
Okay.
I have a sneaky feeling the UK could do it.
Really?
You have more optimism than me. Connor's sneaky feeling UK. Louise, cautiously optimistic for Ireland, clearly. That's clearly why she's picked semi-final.
No, I was looking at the Scandies, Finland, Sweden.
No, that's completely fair. So before we move on to the main talking points of this episode, we do want to quickly go on to Czech Republic because last week they revealed the 5 songs that were competing in their national final. People have been able to vote all week, and I don't know exactly when this episode's going out, but this is either going to go out just before the results happen or just after. Either way, we're not going to be able to talk about in much detail or react to the actual winner for timing reasons. But I do want to quickly ask Louise and Conor, if you had to pick one song that you think will win the Czech Republic national final, who will it be?
My Sister's Crown Vesna.
Yeah.
I think it's the full package. On a personal note, I love Introvert Party Club. I'm streaming it loads. But I think in terms of a package and a wow moment, My Sister's Crown is the one. Definitely.
I agree. Completely. Totally.
I'd agree, yeah. My Sister's Crown has to win. And this will now become incredibly outdated if we are wrong by tomorrow. Yeah. But yeah, 70% international voting. I don't see any other winner from that. So, and that'll be a great entry as well. That could easily get Czech Republic their best result in the contest.
Yeah.
100%. So let's move on to now the main talking points from Saturday, Friday, all the days of the weekend. Well, actually not Sunday, but the other ones. We move on first to Spain. Benidorm Fest, the second edition, closed this weekend, and we have our winner. It is Blanca Paloma with Ea Ea. So that was Blanca Paloma with Ea Ea. She is from Elche, Spain, and many fans will know she also took part in last year's Benidorm Fest, finishing in 5th place. This year, she went all the way and won the contest, and she will be going to Liverpool in the grand final, automatically qualified. So I'll be honest, and this is a breaking the fourth wall moment. It says on my notes, discuss the song. I think to fully encapsulate what Ea Ea is, we're going to have to do a lot more than just a song, aren't we, guys?
I think that's a fair point. Me going into it, I wasn't actually a big fan of the song. I didn't really connect with it, but the minute I saw the stage show, the live vocal, it was wow, phenomenal. And yeah, deserving winner in my eyes. I thought it was a fantastic performance. And yeah, it really connected with me the minute I saw it live.
Yeah, I would agree. I think studio wise, I liked this. I thought it was interesting and different. It wasn't my favorite of the selection, but I would describe this as a feast, both visually and sonically, like on the eyes and on the ears. It was really, really impressive. It got almost 12s across the board from the jury, which I think is right. I think as a juror, I don't know how you could mark this down, and an overwhelming public vote winner as well. So it is fantastic this year also that the Spanish are really behind her, because we know ultimately the Spanish were extremely behind Chanel and Snowmo, but they weren't initially after Benidorm Fest last year. It took some Spanish people longer to come around to it. So it's great that it's a unanimous winner, and I think totally deserved. And I think also, I'd just like to say, I think Benidorm Fest is fantastic.
Yeah,
it's a credit to the Spanish and RTVA. They've done an amazing job, and I hope it just goes strength to strength year after year, and that they continue it. It's clearly working, so well done to the Spanish.
It is kind of ridiculous how this is only the second edition of Benidorm Fest, and it's already such a massive national final. It's a lot of people find it their favorite national final. I can understand why. Yeah, it is great to see the Spanish fans all unanimously behind Blanca Paloma. I will add the asterisk for now. They are inclined to a few mood swings here and there, but hopefully they will stick with this one. Look, similar to Connor, I didn't like this song at all. And in some ways, I still don't. I'm never going to add this to my Spotify playlist. If this was just a ranking of studio songs, this would be low down. But in my head, when I watch the performance, my thoughts on the studio track are completely irrelevant. Like, it doesn't matter at all. The visuals are so stunning. The vocals are ridiculous. Let's be honest, a national final where vocals were sometimes shaky for various artists, Blanca stood out head and shoulders above the rest. The backing singers really added to the performance. And this is definitely the most unique thing Spain have ever sent. And it's fantastic that we're going to get this style at Eurovision. And I think also what's great about the winner of Benidorm Fest, and it's going to add the variety on for many years to come, is a lot of people, and this isn't a discredit to these artists, a lot of people were trying to be the next Chanel, in my opinion. Blanca Paloma won by being Blanca Paloma. Like, you can't hop on trends. It's just the best song will win, the best staging will win. And yeah, I think what a great 2 years Spain are gonna likely have, or hopefully have. Like, from a country that, I mean, we talk about the Spains, the Germany, the UKs. Let's not forget, Spain also struggled at Eurovision for a long time. A top 10 here or there they managed, but for the longest time they were down the bottom. They came off 0 points from the televote after Chanel, and they seem to be going from strength to strength. Overall, what were some of your other favourites from Benidorm Fest? Were there any other songs that you would have liked to have won potentially?
I love Carmento, but I wouldn't have said it's a winner. I just love the studio track. I love the bass in the back with the way it hits in the headphones when you listen to it. But like the staging for it was lovely, but it wasn't a winner. Yeah, I think Blanca Paloma was the one. For me, it was the clear winner after watching the performances. Yeah, like I think everyone did put on a stage show like well, but I think she was out of this world. So yeah, I'm not too surprised.
Yeah, I think Agony was fantastic. Also, I really loved that stage show. It was like given hints of Siren Song, which we never got at Eurovision, so that was kind of exciting. He was amazing and he really surprised me actually. He was the pure standout of semi-final 1 to me.
By a country mile.
Yeah. I thought semi-final 2 was far more competitive. I agree with you, Conor. Blanca far and away the standout, but I really enjoyed semi-final 2. I thought Noche Entera was a great track. I loved hearing the Spanish in the audience singing it back. I actually liked some of the songs that were left behind in semi-final 2. I thought Alfred Garcia was great. I loved his staging. It was very touching. Cedarland, the boy group, were great. I kind of got Lavenda vibes off it, so maybe that's why I liked it. Yeah, honestly, I loved a lot of these songs this year, particularly in studio. Blanca's song in studio would have been lower down for me, but as we've all said, you just couldn't deny the quality of Blanca live and that flamenco style. I think it's so cool to get that authenticity at Eurovision, and there's so many conversations we're all having as fans over the last few years around the importance of authenticity as an artist, and this is just Blanca. She's not trying to be anyone else. She's being herself, and she's bringing something to the Eurovision stage I don't think any other country other than Spain could bring, and that's really special.
Yeah, and I love it like with Benidorm last year and this year is that it doesn't really come together. Listening to the studio songs, it doesn't come together until you see the live performances, because I felt this year it was really hard to connect with the Benidorm Fest songs, but until I saw them live, they were all brilliant. And I agree, semi-final 2 was miles ahead of semi-final 1. I think, put half those songs in, the ones that didn't qualify in semi-final 1,
it would have been a stronger
it would have been a stronger final.
Yeah, I think this is almost the second year where a song that not a lot of people had high up or was like mid-table in their ranking has now been completely elevated due to staging. Like, I from this point on, I'm not going to even bother looking at Benidorm Fest odds because it doesn't matter until it actually comes to the show. For me personally, I think Agony would have been my winner by the end. I loved his staging. I thought it was fantastic. I am partly saying that because in the last episode, I predicted Agony to win, and I was so close. Like, everyone was saying Fossa Nocta or Vico, and I stuck with my guns on Agony. But Blanca Paloma, I think many other years Agony would have won, in my opinion. Blanca Paloma's staging was just out of this world.
I think Agony, the only issue I would have had with it was that I was still getting a Chanel wannabe-ish. Do you know what I mean? There was stuff that Chanel was doing last year. The dance break in the chorus. I just felt that maybe Agony for next year would have been a nice, different
change of pace.
Change of pace, yeah. So I think if this was like 2024, I would have said Agony definitely. But I think coming after Chanel, they needed to go with something completely different to really showcase Benidorm Fest for what it is, instead of just trying to repeat what was successful.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, bit of diversity can go a long way, especially when you've got an act so successful as Chanel. There'll always be those Euro fans that complain, "Oh, this is just a copy," and whether it does better or not is always up for debate. Speaking of how well this will do, obviously already qualified for the final. Don't know running order. Many other songs that will take part. Still 30 left, of course. But I would say that this is definitely a risk. This song from Blanca Paloma. How do you see it paying off?
It's very early.
Yeah.
It's very, very early. But I don't see this being at the bottom of the final.
No.
I really don't. Because it's divisive. And divisiveness never hurts you. Being safe is what hurts you. Where people don't feel compelled to vote for you. And I think this will probably do particularly well in the Latin areas of Europe, in the Mediterranean section of Europe. I think Italy will give this love. Portugal will definitely give this love.
Mm-hmm.
France, maybe some actually Balkan countries also. I could see maybe Albania going for this. I think this could get like we gave our jury 12 points to Spain from Ireland last year. I don't see an Irish jury putting this at the top. I don't see them snubbing it either by any means. I think the Western countries, we're a bit potatoey. We're a bit more bland when it comes to music at times. We don't have the spice or the flavor. So I can see this doing pretty well, but I don't know if it would win Eurovision.
No, I agree. And as well, the whole rest of the world vote as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, this could easily get 12 from them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think
it will do well.
It will do well. Yeah. It will do well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from my perspective, I'm not sure. Yeah, Western countries, I'm not sure song-wise will be attracted to this. However, I do think this staging is universal regardless of your music taste. In some ways, the song is almost like, I mean, as a Brit from the Western side, the song is almost secondary to me. It's like, that's the background to this staging.
Yeah.
Like, if you like the song, that's a bonus. But yeah, that's our thoughts on Spain. As we mentioned, they are already in the final, so won't have to worry about semi-finals, anything like that. So let's move on to our second national final completing this Saturday, and that was Norway. After 4 weeks of very good competition, we have our winner. It is Alessandra Mele with Queen of Kings. So that was Alessandra with Queen of Kings. She is born in Savanova, Italy, actually, moved to Norway. And she also took part in the Norway's version of The Voice in 2022. So this closed the show. It's got a lot of love on Spotify, views. It's one of the coolest things Norway have sent in recent years, right?
Yeah, like it's definitely playing into what Norway do well, those pop bangers. It is slightly unique, but at the same time, I don't know if it feels, very something totally different at the same time. It is a earworm. It's obviously doing very, very well on the charts. You were saying earlier, it's like 13th on the Irish charts here. So
the viral charts, yeah.
So it's obviously doing quite well. It's big on TikTok. Yeah, I like the song. Like, I wouldn't stream it personally. It wouldn't be, one that's on my playlist. But the stage show is brilliant. I love the setup that's gone. The only problem for me, I think it's a bit dark. I would like a bit more light and a bit more maybe LED screen, take advantage of that big screen in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think so. The only issue for me is that the whole autotune aspect of things. I don't know if that's going to really show up in Liverpool. So that's my only kind of reservation about it at the moment.
What I will say is on that, just to quickly touch on auto-tune, because in my head I was like, unless Ulrika wins, the winner will have the asterisk of auto-tune. Because I believe she was the only artist in the final that didn't use it, or that was a contender to win and didn't use it. But if I would advise you to watch the winner's performance from Alessandra, because there is a low chance that was used in auto-tune, because it was just everyone coming together, and she sounded good live. And bear in mind, she was also still ill. So I don't think it will be that much of an issue for her, but maybe time will tell. I'm sure we'll know more in pre-parties, which I'm sure she'll go to. She seems like the person that will go to all of them. And in the rehearsals in Liverpool, it will become more clear. But I've got good faith in Alessandra. Louise, are you a fan of Queen of Kings?
Well, just on the auto-tune point, we and Conor and I just recorded not long ago for our own podcast on MGP, and we fleshed it out a bit. And I was the same as Conor with that concern. But then you kind of also think Norway are one of those countries who they handle things well. So if it does become an issue, they will solve it. I would firmly believe, whether it's better backing vocals in the backing track or a vocalist backstage to help out if Alessandra needs to move more or whatever it is. So I don't believe it should become a massive issue in Liverpool. Hopefully not for Norway anyway. But as for the actual track, I go between two feelings. And the first feeling is I can find it actually a bit irritating on the ear. And I don't know, is it that it's nearly like a bit of hyper pop. It's very full on the ear. And at times it can be just like a little bit grating on me. But then I go between that and to the whole earworm idea that I can't get out of my head. Like, it's been kind of stuck in my head most of the time we've been talking so far with yourself, Harry, and I think Alessandra is absolutely fantastic. She seemed so delighted. I thought it was lovely when she won and she went around hugging everyone. Her and Ulrika had a lovely moment together. So I would say NRK are delighted to have something that also, it has a lot of hype within Norway and also across the world. Like, for it to be in the viral charts in Ireland, in kind of a non-Eurovision friendly country at present, is pretty cool.
Mhm.
So I imagine she's charting across Europe and across the world. Going viral on TikTok, as we know, is always a helpful thing, especially in Eurovision. So I think Norway are looking at a good result with this.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I love this personally. It's right on my street song-wise. It's powerful, yet upbeat, fun. What's fascinating is MGP always is so ridiculously strong. This year in particular, there were some real standouts. However, a lot of the standouts had a few detractors for me. It was like Yawn. Some people weren't. Some people were hesitant based on the staging. Elsie Bay. Some people were hesitant just because it's not their style. Ulrika, the Queen of Norway, as I've called her. Some people didn't find the song to their taste. Alessandra seemed like the one that was the most encompassing of, yeah, we all like this one. Like, this was the one that I felt the most people were happy to win. And I do find it ironic that this is the year they came to juries. But it really didn't matter. They didn't need juries for this one. There was no like polarizing out their entry that wouldn't have done well with the jury. She topped both fairly convincingly, especially the televote. And what I love about her performance, aside from the lights and everything like that, is I was worried when I first heard the song that her moody persona might be a bit dark. At least looking at the cover art and like the styling of the song on the studio. But Alessandra has such a bubbly personality off stage, on stage. It's very warming, I think. It really draws the audience in. For 20 years old, she's got such confidence on stage. It's her first MGP as well, which I think's ridiculous how good she can perform at that criteria. And yeah, I see this doing very well. This is first half of semi-final one. For me, this is the opener. This is what you kick off Eurovision with. Especially looking at the others. I'm going to call that now in case that actually happens later on when the running order appears. But yeah, I see great things for Norway. And you know what's great? We don't, this year, because it was an international jury, we don't have the worry with Norway of, oh, is this going to do well with jury or not? We've seen the proof. Like, this is a jury song, this is a televote song. Top 10 is definitely within reach for Norway.
And now it's time for... Okay, we gotta go. 30 seconds.
So now we come to another edition of OK, Gotta Go 30 Seconds, as always inspired by our golden boy from 2015. Basically, for those who haven't seen or heard a previous episode of the show, I have a list of 43 countries who have all taken part in Eurovision as recently as 2018, or it could be later, of course. Our guests will have to pick a number between 1 and 43. They've all been randomly assigned a number, these countries, and they will have 30 seconds to name the country's entries in reverse chronological order. They can either give me the title name, or they can sing or hum a famous part of the song if they can't quite remember the title, but remember the song. Obviously, they can't just sing like a random part of the verse, because no one's going to remember that. You get 2 lifelines. The first one is country restart. If you are struggling at any point, immediately say another number, and we will go from there. And the other one is year check. You can basically clarify what year you are on. You can only use each of these lifelines once. If you run out of entries, so the example I always give is if Australia gets selected and you go for all theirs because they don't have that many, you can immediately pick another number and keep going. This does not count as your country restart. And a rule we are adding for this edition as the Eurovision 2023 field adds up. If you pick a country that has already selected their entry for this year, you have to start with them. Otherwise, go from their most recent one. Louise, Connor, do you have any questions?
No. Good to go.
We're good to go. Take it away, Harry.
Before we start, let's quickly look at the current leaderboard. 3 people have taken part so far. In last place, sadly, with 1, it is Jess. Then we've got Twan on points, and then the current leader is Stu with 11. So that is what you are competing. But
God.
realistically, are you two just competing amongst yourselves to see who wins?
Yeah.
I'll be raging if Connor beats you. I'll be tempted to help you as well.
Yeah,
I'll have to
that's the
hold
problem.
back.
Oh, no. I am
I'll be like-
firmly a believer of competitiveness to not help each other.
Like, I feel like you're gonna go, I know that. I know that.
No, I won't.
I know that.
I'll be sitting here like,
Oh, no. Feel
It'll
free
be
to
vice
do that.
versa.
You can be annoying in that front. Your time will start as soon as you hear the country, and your time will end when you hear this.
Okay, hit the end.
So I've got a coin here because this is new that we've got a duo. So I'm going to say heads, Connor goes first. Tails, Louise goes first. It is heads, Connor. You're going first.
Shite.
I usually land on heads. Thanks, Harry.
Do you want to go first?
No. Good luck. Good night, around all lads.
Oh.
So Connor, can you pick a number between 1 and 43?
28.
28. Okay. So Connor, 28. You will have 30 seconds to name as many entries from Lithuania. Go.
Monica Lou, Sentimental, The Roop, Discotheque, The Roop, On Fire, 2019, Lithuania. Oh my god. Ah! What's Lithuania? 2019. Oh yeah! We are the Lions, Run with the Lions. 2018, then Lithuania.
Okay, hit the end.
These are the reasons I want you to know. Oh, when we're old.
Yeah. Oh.
Louise,
Was
I
that
couldn't have
four?
said. Louise, I couldn't have said it better myself. First of all, and yes, Connor, that was.
Good,
I'm happy with
Connor.
four
That's
now.
good.
So
It's hard.
current.
It looks hard.
That's non-qualifier. Like two of those were.
One
like-
of the Lions, Jace.
That's what I mean. I was like, oh, that's the one.
So currently, you are in second place in the
I'll take
leaderboard.
that.
Well done, Louise. It is now your turn. For the sake of
He's gonna
me,
get Ireland or something. now.
No,
I
I'm
will-
going to get something awful. And I'll be like, oh.
I will just say now, Louise, you cannot pick 28 because for obvious reasons. You can't just pick the last one.
Fair enough.
Okay, so Louise, pick a number between 1 and 43.
7, please.
7.
Yes.
Okay. So, Louise, you will have 30 seconds to name as many entries from Albania. Go.
27. 27, please. Restart.
27 is Romania. Go.
Ola Yamame. Then we had. Oh, fuck. Who was the year before? Romania. Were they in?
Yep.
I forgot it was 2021.
I will say now that's ironic. I will say it's ironic you forgot it.
I know it.
Okay, hit the end.
Roxanne. Oh, I hated her. Oh, she was shocking. God love her.
So let's just clarify Louise's go for everyone, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
should have done Albania.
She-
Yeah.
Do you know why I couldn't remember the name of their song this year? I was going to be like, oh, Familia or something. I couldn't. That's why I gave it up.
So yeah, Louise
Can
got
I do with
Albania.
another country.
No.
No.
Jeez.
So let's clarify Louise's go for everyone, ladies and gentlemen. So she got a country, immediately said, screw that, and picked a different one. Got Romania, got one, and then
Hurts.
ironically couldn't remember a song called Amnesia.
It was. Connor's reaction just took me out. I couldn't. After him and I started laughing, I was gone. I was like, who went 2021?
Then you were like, were they even in the contest?
I hated both Roxanne's song. Actually, you know what? I feel bad. I said I hated her. I didn't hate her. Sorry. I don't hate artists. I did not like either of her songs in 2020 or 21.
So I mean, you're currently tied for last place, but I'm inclined to say I'm inclined to say because you used one of your lifelines, I might put you in last. Because Jess didn't use any lifelines. She stuck with it.
Do you know what? I'm Irish. I have to live up to the brand, don't I?
You know what? You know what? Genuinely, I thought after because you seem to know a lot of the Lithuanian ones, I thought, oh, she might be all right at this.
Genuinely, if it had been another country, I might have smashed it. If you'd given me Spain or Ireland or something, I would have been like, boop, 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 boop.
Well, obviously, you are like massive Spain and Irish fans. So the current leaderboard after that, in last place with 1, it's Louise, sorry. In 4th place with also 1, but didn't use a lifeline, it's Jess. In 3rd place with 3, it's Twan. In 2nd place with 4, it is Conor. And in 1st with, I'll be amazed if anyone can beat this, 11, it is Stu. So that concludes the latest edition of OK, Gotta Go 30 Seconds. So let's continue with some entry reveals for Eurovision 2023. And up next, we are traveling to Friday. And I believe that this is a contest that the Irish Eurovision themed podcast might be covering. Of course, this is Ireland with their winner, Wild Youth, and their song, We Are One. So, Wild Youth are from Dublin, Ireland, a very popular band in Ireland. And I say let's go to our experts on this one, from Ireland, of course. So 6 songs in Eurosong this year. What's your initial thoughts? Just sum them all up for the audience for Wild Youth winning.
Well, we actually had 5 songs competing
5
in Eurosong.
fantastic songs.
Yeah. We had one very long ad break in between everything.
Yeah.
So production-wise, I think the show was much better than last year. There was improvements. Postcards were much better. Every artist seemed to have staging that actually meant something to them instead of like, you know, the basic Shutterstock backgrounds. Look, it still needs to move off the Late Late Show. Ultimately, needs to move away. I wouldn't mind Eurosong as a format on its own, you know, on a Sunday night, whatever. But I think on the Late Late Show, once it remains in that studio, there's going to be issues, and you could see that with certain performances on the night, in my opinion. So, but I did actually enjoy the show, though. I thought it was a good show. Very Irish, though. You know, typical like peanut butter being given away and all that kind of stuff. Like that's such Irish telly. So I guess we're just used to it, and it's something that we see every week. But for the casual Eurovision fan who's, you know, tuning in from Norway or from the UK, and they see that, they're like, you know, why is there peanut butter being given away in the middle of a national final? But we're used to that.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue about the peanut butter when that came on. I was like, this is where the runtime's coming from. This stupid peanut butter thing. I was like, come on, just get to an interval act or something. Louise, what were your thoughts on Eurosong this year? As many people know, you are an avid lover of the Late Late Show format, and love it with all your heart. Correct?
Can I just put out into the universe that I have been so publicly against the Late Late Show for years? So much so that our head of delegation has cracked multiple jokes about it with me, just as you did, Harry. Listen, we're conditioned to it at this point, that we're probably not fully cognitive of how awful it is because we're so used to seeing it. It's no disrespect to the Late Late Show as a brand, because the Late Late Show as a talk show, a late night talk show on a Friday, is huge in Ireland. And like the Late Late Toy Show, something we have every November, is a staple of Christmas in Ireland. There's so many iconic things about the Late Late Show. But when it comes to the Late Late Show and Eurosong and Eurovision, it's just not the one. No disrespect, Ryan Tubridy shouldn't be the host. There should be a different host. No panel, please. Bigger audience who can get a bit more involved. Better stage is necessary. So that would be my feelings on the production. There were definitely elements of improvements, but I still don't think it's good enough. And I think Irish Eurovision deserves better and deserves more. Conor and I have kind of touched on the fact that we do feel this year even within the mainstream Irish media and mainstream Irish Twitter, Irish social media, there does seem to be a bigger recognition of the wider public and media saying the Late Late Show isn't suitable. So you kind of hope maybe between the grassroots of the fans, Irish fans really pushing RTE and the mainstream media now getting involved in the conversation, that it really will move out of the Late Late Show soon. But I said this on our podcast, I will believe it when I see it. I'm not holding my breath necessarily for next year, but I hope we will make it out of there to the Helix, to somewhere else in Dublin, the Academy. Like, we're not asking for a 3 arena crazy big venue, just something, or even in, I don't know, the RDS, somewhere else. Make it a standalone show. It can be an hour and a half to 2 hours long on a Sunday evening. Sell some tickets to Eurovision fans. We know we could fill out a space, however much, couple of euro each for a ticket, 20 quid, 30 quid, whatever, people would pay it to go and see and pump a bit more money in, pump a bit more effort in. But as for the actual songs, big improvement.
Yeah, very strong.
Across the board. Not necessarily all live, but
no.
As studio tracks, much better.
So we discussed the show. I agree. It needs to move out of the Late Late Show format. I understand there's problems with budgeting and actually convincing people in the higher ups to move it. But when you see that on the Friday and then you compare it to MGP and Benidorm Fest, like the following day, two of the best produced national finals of the season, you can understand how Spain and Norway do well with their finals and Ireland still struggle. It's a real shame because a lot of acts, I think, on Friday would have benefited from a much bigger staging, better camera angles, better lighting. It's just like you lose the potential of various acts because what you can see on stage is so limited. But obviously, in the end, one act did go on to win, and it was Wild Youth with We Are One. So, what was your reaction when the song was first announced maybe as the winner, and then 3 days later, with a bit of time to breathe, what was your thoughts on it now?
Conor and I can often find a dynamic of like head and heart, and I think we interchange sometimes.
Yeah.
Like we both are in touch with our emotions and with our brains, and I think poor Conor was feeling his feels. He was very upset over Connolly, and I was there, Conor, it's not Hawaii, it's grand.
And I'm like, I know, but
like, I mean, we both wanted Connolly to win.
Yeah,
Connolly was both of our individual and collective winner, but I was just so relieved that Hawaii had tanked. That was my ultimate fear going into the night, that like miraculously Hawaii might slip in for Ireland, which just would have been an absolute travesty. So in my mind, as soon as it was Connolly versus Wild Youth, I actually relaxed, because I thought, okay, Connolly is my preference, but Wild Youth will be great. So I had nearly like just dipped over the disappointment. I think as the days have gone on, I've actually sort of felt like, oh, Connolly. But Wild Youth are going to be fantastic. They'll be great ambassadors for Ireland.
Conor, I've had a couple conversations with you since the results, so I feel like you are a little bit less optimistic than Louise. Is it safe to say?
No, I've come around. I've swept up my tears and kind of have gotten over. I wouldn't say getting over. I don't think I'll ever get over Connolly not winning. But yeah, look. For me, it wasn't the best of the night. Connolly was, and ultimately, they won. And like Lou said, they are going to be fantastic representatives for Ireland. They'll do everything that they need to do. The song isn't actually bad. Like, people, like, it's a good quality song. Is it the best song that they could have produced? I don't think so. I think we needed to hear something more that matched their genre. Not genre, but that
something
style.
A bit more edgy. They have a lot of edgy songs.
Yeah, like, I feel like this is a bit of a generic song. Now, that's not to say it won't do well at Eurovision. There's definitely a pathway for this into the final if they get, everything nailed on. Tweak things here and there, make it more of a band effort in a performance. Have that cohesiveness between Conor, Dave, Ed, all of them together. that's what people will really latch onto. And I think play up to the the quirkiness, or not the quirkiness, but play up to that. We are one. Okay, it is a generic message, but play up to that. People will love that. Get the crowd involved, get the flags moving, make those cool camera shots. People will latch onto that. The casual Eurovision fan who tunes in only in May will latch onto that. So may as well play into that. But for me, Connolly was the runaway winner, and I feel that we have lost a great song that had very, very much potential to do quite well for Ireland. And for me, with tweaks, that was a top 10 contender in my eyes, I think.
It's personally, like, Connolly I loved as well, but I think it's so, as I said, she was just riskier. It's just harder to know, but I think, as you said, Connor, there's likelihood she would have gotten us a higher result. But on the flip side, I think there could be more likelihood she could have got like a second or third in the running order slot and been nailed. Do you know what I mean? In terms of results, it's very, I suppose we'll never know. But on Wild Youth, and just as you were talking there about like the potential in an arena, and we spoke a bit about this the other day together, I really want to see the crowd interaction, as you said. Like, don't really want this Joe and Jake like pictures on the background, like the album cover. Like, no, please, none of that. But get Conor out, a lip on the stage where you can see all the flags and the crowd are involved, and get the crowd to like stick up their hand in a one. That could be quite cute. And then like have nice like panning shots where you can see all the crowd getting involved, especially if it's song number one. We are one, a nice bit of branding. And then when it's the recap, we can go to the one.
I'd love loads of like sweeping camera shots in that last 30 seconds, cut to Conor, then sweeping out from Conor into the crowd, cut to the bandmates, make that
Get
a real togetherness
energy.
moment. Play into that, because that last 30 seconds is going to be a moment on that stage. Whether you like the song or not, they are going to make it a moment, because it is that anthemic quality of the song.
Make it feel like a Wild Youth concert.
Yes.
That's how we know entries do well in Eurovision. And the other thing I'd like to see is, which it probably would have been harder to do on the Late Late Show, get the band to interact together a bit more.
Yes.
Conor and David are best friends, and you can't fake something like that. So like get them to like sing to each other or back and forth, or have a bit more interaction with each other.
Callum, fairness, was doing he's the drummer of the band. He was doing that quite well. Like, he was pointing at the backing singers. He was interacting with Dave a lot. So they just need to amplify that a bit more for the Eurovision stage, I think. But like, I don't know, like that last 30 seconds, I don't know if it was because it was 3 o'clock in the morning, but I was listening to it last night, and I was kind of getting goosebumps at it. Like, even watching the Late Late Show performance, there was a goosebump element of that togetherness, like, because it's been a rough 3 years, do you know what I mean? And I still feel like we haven't really processed that.
4.
Really, yeah. We still haven't processed that. So
do I hear 5?
I went for 6, 7.
So, I still think that is going to be a really, really special moment and might surprise fans. There's always that one song that people hate on so much in the lead up to contest.
Or just ignore.
And I don't know. I don't know if that's just me being optimistic, but I do think that there is definitely a pathway into the final for this if they make the changes that are necessary. Because, 5 don't qualify. So it's not that as well. Do you mean?
You're on the semi-final with less acts. That's what you're
exactly.
Conor said to me earlier, we have a 66 point something, and I was like, oh, this is so grim.
True, though. Like, this is the fact.
This is so...
Hang on, in 2014, were you in the 15 or 16?
Yeah, but that was a mess.
Wait, what?
2014.
Okay.
Yeah, and semi-final wise, like, people...
Oh, I didn't like that.
That was the last time we had 37 songs.
Yeah, no, that was a mess, though, of a performance. I think Wild Youth will give us a quality performance.
Yeah, hopefully.
I think just going back to briefly to the Late Late Show and sort of my thoughts on the results, I would have to say that, and this is no one's fault, because at the end of the day, vote for who you want. But looking at the results, it felt like Eurovision fans voted for Connolly, Wild Youth fans voted for Wild Youth. That was sort of my impression when you look at, for example, the international jury was much more Eurovision fan heavy. And at the end of the day, 12 points went to Connolly. And while there was some influence from the Irish jury on, that was Eurovision fans. A lot of them seem more like musical expert based, which again tilts the thing to Wild Youth. And then obviously we saw this in if anyone hasn't seen the Eurovision special on the Eurosong special on Eurovision, it's a great listen. Please do go for it. But the Wild Youth fans, I believe, crashed the voting that you did for that, and I think just the amount of support and how popular they are overshadowed, I think, any actual song that happened on the night. So from my perspective about qualification, and I will ask for and I'll ask you this later. I said on the Eurovoxx live stream that I feel like there's so much potential for semi-final one to be a bloodbath, depending on results, that I would worry for Ireland in the first half. And look, this isn't the be-all and end-all. If you had but the UK also isn't necessarily saving you voting wise, for like a guaranteed good amount of points, which you can qualify without 100%. The song just needs to be there. So personally, you're not a complete out, but I think it's less likely you're qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm going to ask you to be as unbiased as possible and give me a yes or no answer. Is Ireland breaking their qualification streak and making it to the final?
So I'm looking at this strategically and thinking, I say yes and I look like a fool in May, or I say no and I'm very happy to be proven wrong in May. So, but then I have to go on my gut and what I really think. I'm verging on no, looking on what's in around us, but it's also just so early. Can I say one other quick thing while you're thinking, Connor? Because I can tell you your thinking face on. In terms of Eurosong, Harry, in terms of the Eurosong public vote, I agree that there was an element of Eurovision fans voting for Connolly, Wild Youth fans voting for Wild Youth, but there's a very important group that's been forgotten there, and that's the public. And the Irish public did vote for Wild Youth, just from talking to friends and family, and that people did really like Connolly too. They were the absolute top two of everybody.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
But the general public, my friends and stuff, they all think Wild Youth are great, as they should. My mammy loved Wild Youth, so they did also. I think even if you took the Wild Youth fans out of it, because we know in God love them, like they're great, they spam vote. But I think even if you took them out, they probably would have took the 12 points with the public vote, to be quite honest. But anyway, Connor, what do you think of our qualification chances?
Before that, I do agree with everything you said, because people in work were coming up to me, and again, Wild Youth, Connolly, everyone was saying Connolly was great, but sure, it's Wild Youth. I know the name. That plays into the Irish public as well. That any song really, I think Wild Youth were always going to be the contenders, to be honest. But are we going to qualify this year? I'll be optimistic and say yes. I think we will. I think that the 66% chance of qualification, that plays into my mind.
He's a maths man, ladies and gentlemen.
I think the lads will listen to fans. They will listen, and they obviously feel themselves that there is work to be done. I feel that they will make the requirements to the song to make it better. I trust that they have a record label behind them as well, who will not make this a cheap production when it comes to staging. Is it going to be a safe qualifier? No, but it could squeak in that 9 to 10 spot. I think so. So I'll be positive.
As your Irish Eurovision fans, we sort of, like, there's a little bit of pressure, or I don't know what the right word is, a bit of a concern that if these lads don't qualify, Eurovision Ireland is possibly going to be in a worse place than it was a couple of years ago. So
because this is the first year that we've had like a proper act.
Yeah.
People love Wild Youth here. They're so popular.
Always on the radio.
They are so popular in Ireland. Like,
I think your head of delegation has played a massive gamble putting them in, because with that song, because I think if this doesn't qualify, then it's on the head of delegation, because simply put, with a popularity that big, he had to know that Wild Youth were going to have a good shot of winning. And if it doesn't qualify, which big artists say yes to doing Eurosong or to Eurovision? Because the perception, it doesn't matter on the song quality when it comes to perception in a country. They just look at the numbers and the results. So this, for me, is a very much a make or break year for Ireland, I think. If you qualify, then you've steadied the ship. If not, I worry. So, of course, Ireland will be competing in the first half of semi-final 1. The only other song announced for that semi-final so far is Norway. So now we move on to our last act that was revealed this weekend, and it's the first internally selected song in Slovenia with Joker out. They were announced earlier on, I believe, in 2022 or the start of 2023, and their song is called Carpe Diem.
Mi bomo celo noč plesali, ljubili se igrali, kot danes jutri več ne bo, ne bomo šteli ur do zore.
So Joker Out originate from Ljubljana, Slovenia, and they were actually going to take part in EMA this year anyway. This is Slovenia's usual national final, but the broadcaster decided to select them internally. So, Slovenia have been on a slight downward spiral in the last couple of years. They came last overall in 2022. Is this a good bounce back for them, do you reckon?
I'll let you kick it off because I know you're a very big fan.
Love this. This is my winner so far. I think the Slovenians made an excellent choice internally selecting them. I don't know what way they did it. Did they decide these guys are great artists? What song do they have? Or maybe did they just hear the song and say, this is the one? But I think that's clever. Like, just make good use of your resources and do away with a national selection if you don't think it favours you in any way. Fair enough if you think you have a few contenders and you want people to decide. But I think this is so fabulous, especially because I know it's kind of different for you than me, Connor. Connor saw the music video first. My first impression of it was the live presentation that they did in the studio with all the crowd around, and I just thought they were incredible. The way they worked the cameras, the way they interacted with each other, with the crowd. I would love to go to one of their gigs. I think they're brilliant. And I honestly, hand on heart, think this could be Slovenia's best ever result in the competition. I would love Eurovision to go to Ljubljana, brilliant city. Kind of Maneskin vibes of these guys, with the sort of appeal they have, but I personally prefer them to Måneskin, and I would like now to, over the next week or so, go back through some of their discography and get to know them as a band a lot better. And this is one of the reasons why I love Eurovision, just finding something I love and going, yeah, this is for me, and then I've got a new artist to follow, so I'm chuffed. Well done, Slovenia.
Yeah. So, Connor, are you Joker in, Joker out, Joker shake it all about? What are you?
That was a good one.
Yeah, I actually really like the song as well. Like Lee said, my first impression was the music video, and I actually didn't really fully like it at first listen. It was like, all right, not too sure how I feel about it. But once I saw the live performance of them, they were brilliant, and they seemed like such great lads, and the crowd involvement as well, like that's going to be amplified for Eurovision. So yeah, and I like the fact that Slovenia was taking a risk this year by, moving away from EMA. That's been an established national final for the last few years. So yeah, I like that. Take a risk, and I'm sure they'll do great. Safe qualifier in my eyes. I'm not too sure how well it will do in the final, but I feel like it will do maybe at best just outside the top 10, like 14th, 15th, somewhere like that for me. I think so.
Yeah, I'm similar to you, I would say, in terms of my reaction to the song. I thought it was okay at first, but then I watched the live performance and I listened to the song over and over again. And I was like, oh no, this is good. This is very good. It feels a lot more produced than previous Slovenian entries, which is probably part of the reason, or like part of the cause of going from a national final to internal. You can afford to have better production values. And Joker Out seemed like a very charismatic band, have a great voice live. And this is just a fun, upbeat song. It is a risk. It's in Slovenian, and it's not the typical Eurovision sound that you immediately think, oh, that's going to do well. However, especially in semi-final 2, which bold prediction, I think will be weaker this year than semi-final 1. I definitely see a path to this, to the final. It's in the second half, could get a good spot. And yeah, this is a fun one that, especially in a televote only vote, that a lot of fans are going to have fun with this. They're going to feel joy and upbeat. So that's where I see Slovenia going. Of course, Louise, I don't believe you mentioned. Do you see this in the final or not?
Oh, yes, totally, 100%. Honestly, as an Irish fan, I'm only glad they're not in semi-final one.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to do very well in the contest this year. It's obviously hard to say. We're 7 songs out of 40 odd in, but I see this being a very good result for Slovenia. You can already see the waves it's making online. There's fans there who are going to back this all the way. I've only put up, I think, 2 tweets about Slovenia, and the amount of interactions I'm getting, and that always gives me a fair idea of how the fans are feeling, the way that they interact with everybody else's feelings on the song. So I think this is going to be a heavy hitter, a good one for Slovenia.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, Slovenia is in the second half of semi-final 2. The only other songs we've got in semi-final 2 at the moment are Belgium and Albania.
And now it's time for Unpopular Opinion.
So now it is time for Unpopular Opinion, the segment in the show where guests are free to express whatever opinion they like about Eurovision, regardless of backlash, anything like that. This is a safe space for our guests. So we get a treat this week, obviously. We're going to get 2 unpopular opinions at once. So, Louise, since you went second in the game show, let's go with your unpopular opinion first.
My unpopular opinion about Eurovision is that Moldova is one of the best Eurovision countries ever, and it's highly underrated every year by everybody.
I'm assuming you mean in Eurovision fandom circles rather than the actual results?
Both Eurovision fans and results, I would say.
Okay, because I believe Moldova's a funny country for me, in that basically Moldova always has, in my opinion, one of the worst national finals in the contest, but yet they still manage to always qualify. They have one of the best qualification records in the contest out of anyone. So they're always a funny one. I think they just enjoy sending fun, and when they send fun, they do well because the televote immediately gravitates towards them. So that's why Moldova's not my favorite country personally. I'll be honest, I don't like any of what's their name, Zidub entries.
Yeah, I love
However,
them.
I can appreciate why they have an audience and why they connect with so many people. So, Connor, what is your unpopular opinion?
My unpopular opinion is that I think the big 5 are actually a good thing in Eurovision.
So, as a Brit, I would have to agree. I think the Big 5 is wonderful. It guarantees finals every year. It's amazing. But no, I'm kidding. Why do you feel it's a good thing?
I think it's good because obviously there's not enough spaces in the semi-finals. I think they'd be too long. But I think as well it does enhance the final in a way because okay, the big 5 necessarily staying the same every single year, but maybe results could come into it. You know that it's an ever-changing big 5, if you get what I mean. I think that's more broadly what I mean by not necessarily the same countries in the big 5, but a big 5 that changes every year based on, statistically your best results. You have to get into that big 5. Kind of gives an initiative to countries to do well anyway. Obviously one country wins, but coming top 5 is really, really beneficial because it can add to your statistics of getting into that big 5 slot. I think that would be my idea, more so than keeping it, the traditional Italy, Germany, UK, blah, blah, blah. I think that's where I'd be coming from more so.
Yeah, my only concern with that is I appreciate that, let's be honest, apart from the last couple years, the Big 5 usually do badly. Well, unless you're Italy, in that case, you just look down at all the other 4. But I would say what would concern me about a revolving Big 5 is we sort of had something similar in the 2000s with the top 10 from the previous year automatically getting in, and it just made the contest a little bit weaker. In my opinion, there was a lot of countries that were just like, well, we're already in the final, so why bother trying? Maybe it'd be different this year. Like modern days. But that's sort of how I see the Big 5. I agree that it's always nice to have countries like Italy, Germany, Spain, and the UK in the final, just for like the brand and the sort of notion that, oh, these are big countries. we should watch this final and take it seriously. I think it's more for like obviously the contributing factor in terms of financials, but also like these countries are here. This is why we are watching. So that concludes this episode of the Eurovoxx podcast. I hope everyone had a great time listening. Conor, Louise, thank you so much for being amazing guests. Been a very fun episode to record and listen. And look, we've got a big one next week. It's Super Saturday, which means we're going to get reactions from Croatia, Denmark, Estonia, Italy, Latvia, Malta, and Romania. 7 national finals are concluding next week, and it's going to be a bumper episode along with this one, so strap yourselves in for next week. But for now, I've been Harry from Eurovoxx, and bye, guys.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank
bye.
You.